I'm not sure if the nuance will come across in English, but in Japanese, there is a difference between jujitsu and shinjitsu. Jujitsu means truth in the sense of something that actually happened or exists. In other words, a fact. Shinjitsu is truth in the sense of something that someone believes to be correct. At first glance, they might seem similar, but truth can differ from person to person. For example, the statement, God exists, is the truth for believers of certain religions, but not the truth for atheists. I think everyone is seeking their own personal truth, and in that sense, you could also say they are seeking comfort. So in the end, whether the answer they get from Google is a fact probably doesn't matter. The only thing that matters is whether it is close to their truth. I don't understand what truth is, so I don't think I'm particularly trying to bring any in. Nothing as grand as what you'd call inspiration has ever come to me. I find that the daily ideas and thoughts that I need are born from a dialogue with myself. Saying dialogue with myself sounds very cool, but it's actually not that impressive. First, imagine there's Yoko A and Yoko B in my brain. Yoko A is an otaku who looks at everything cynically and speaks from atop a high horse, the type of person you see everywhere online. Yoko B is a game creator, but he's also an arrogant person who can't stand being looked down upon by players. I, Yoko A, say, isn't this just the same as insert some famous work from the past? This is worthless. And then Yoko B says,
you don't get it. You'll understand how it's different once you see how it develops from here.
Though Yoko B hasn't really thought about that part yet. My ideas eventually come together from these two bad-natured people hurling insults at each other. Yoko A and Yoko B sometimes agree and disagree, but it's not really much of a discussion. They don't really listen to each other, they just ramble on about what it is that they want to say. It's not even a debate. They're just trying to one-up each other, like arguments on social media.
For me, interactive stories are a means rather than a goal. I want as many players as possible to have a variety of experiences. So even if they stop playing halfway through, I want to treasure that as a valuable playing experience for that person. I'm happy when interpretations arise that are different from my own. However, I don't anticipate them beforehand. If I did, the interpretations would end up being expected interpretations. If someone themselves believes that they've misunderstood something, then I think that interpretation is also valid. If the audience enjoys it in their own way, then I think it's fine regardless of whether they understand it or not.
You ask, who do I trust more? Someone who claims to understand my work, or someone who says, I don't get it, but I liked it? If you start trusting people based on that kind of standard, you'll just get scammed. Do I feel wary of the influence of large budgets in game development? Regardless of budget or scale, I want to deliver something that people will enjoy. I don't make products for my own growth or enjoyment.
Is there a question I'd like to be asked? The question I'd like to be asked is, I've bought some Sainsbury's trifle. Do you want it? The answer is yes.
Do childhood memories come up during creation? They don't.
There's a building, more like a skyscraper, that appears often in my dreams. There are elevators, but they require complex transfers and some of them move sideways. One time the building exploded, and as I escaped, I saw the explosion in slow motion.
What would I do if I didn't get into games? Maybe open an udon restaurant. Because I like udon.
If there were a religion called Udonism where status was determined by the length of noodles, what do you think you would have to do to make them 1 centimeter longer?
Well, positions in any organization tend to be hierarchical. There is a tendency for high-status members to want to hold on to their positions, and it's rare for them to allow anyone to take over those roles. I suspect Udonism would also have that same tendency. Higher-ranking members would likely create so-called tests or trials, using them as obstacles for lower-ranking members to preserve their high status within the organization. Extending your udon by even 1 centimeter would require prior permission, and obtaining that permission would likely require unreasonably complex long-term training. I think the best way to avoid that kind of troublesome process would be to either create a new organization and position yourself at the top, or alternatively, to eliminate the entirety of the current top brass.
I've never thought about prioritizing between those two, but it's interesting, so I'll think about it. Okay, I thought about it. Intuition, I guess. No matter how much I think, that thinking feels like it's being influenced by intuition. Preparation or refinement? The latter. More accurately, it's incomplete preparation and filling in the gaps that result from it.
But when he wakes up to this uninteresting view, he soon But when he wakes up to this, he soon gets tired of it. But when he wakes up to this uninteresting view, he soon gets sometimes that funny thing sticks to the ceiling. But he can't touch it. So after a few moments, it's only tantalizing.
I do relate to the kind of attitude that goes something like, "This theory that I came up with encompasses everything in this world." Everyone wants to show that they are better than other people in one way or another. They hope that their famous sayings will continue to be quoted in the future. I also have a part of me that thinks like that.
I think it's impossible for someone to play a personality completely different from their own. So the mask is in some way a part of the person themselves.
Can human narrative be devoid of conflict?
I think it is possible, but I can't think of a way off the top of my head.
Is all art political? The all X is Y theory is just a string of words created by people who want to be told, "You are so profound." Especially as people reach middle age, they develop the desire to be asked questions because they think they have something incredible to say. So I think you should ask this question to the people who are saying, "All art is political."
Sunday, 8:33 p.m.
I don't think sacrifice is an important element in my stories, but it does come out as a habit when I write. It's a habit I'd like to get rid of and become more versatile. Also, so far, I've never written a story by deciding on a theme beforehand.
When I don't know something, I ask Google. So there aren't really any questions without answers. Are there stories from the West that you find particularly interesting or inspiring?
I feel like there's been an increase in interesting Western dramas and films recently. But sometimes it's amusing when works with incredibly shallow content get released into the world. I see it in both art-focused and entertainment-focused works. The problem is, if I mentioned the titles, I'm worried I'd get blacklisted from the industry, so I can't mention them. I don't know much about ludology, so I don't think it influences me in any particular way. I think anything can be turned into a game, But whether or not it has value as a game is a different matter. Since I work to make money, it's hard for me to make something that I don't think has any value. I suppose in that sense you could also say that not everything can be gamified.
I'm sorry. I feel bad for everyone who had to listen to such a pointless answer. Could you create a game without image, sound, or text? What would that look like? In the absence of all visual and audio data, what is a game?
As for the question of whether it's possible or not, I think it's possible. People have a sense of smell and a sense of touch. It could utilize a sixth sense, or even urine. There's plenty to work with.
What would it look like if you could design a game where failure was more satisfying than success?
I think it's possible if you make the outcome of the success something that the players want to avoid. Something like, if you get even one of the next 10 consecutive coin tosses right, I'll kill your daughter.
Taro, too, is still very cautious, but he handles the brush well as he completes the last character of the name for Japan. From top to bottom, it reads, Dai Ni Pon, meaning Great Sun's origin, or as we say, Japan. Later, Taro wields a bat with even greater skill in the American game of baseball. Nearby, older boys practice fencing as a part of their physical training.
If you had to leave a message behind for future civilizations, what would you write?
It's all a lie.
It's all a lie. It's all a lie. It's all a lie. It's all a lie. It's all a lie. It's all a lie.
Means that do it. Burger.